here's the latest intel.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, divine embodiments of love. My name is Rob Potter, and this is the Victor of Light Radio Show. I'm your host here on the PyramidOneNetwork.com. I'd like to thank Bob Charles, producer of that station, and John Allen from the Land of Wonder Down Under, who makes it possible. You can see the donation button on their website if you want to support the station and the speakers that put it out. Go ahead and do so. I'd like you all to know I do have a Facebook page called the Victor of Light Radio Show and blog, and you can check that out and get information. See the link on my transcript page. Also, my website, thepromiserevealed.com, has lots of good information there. I'd like to thank Danelle Glade for the transcription. I'd like to thank Ricky Serapico, who normally does the audio editing. We'll have him back again. My webmaster, computer god, Ryan, and also Jagat have my heartfelt thanks as well. I'd like to thank Chris Bell, who's taken on this daunting task, modulating Cobra's voice with a 24,000-mile signal delay at times. It's made it a little difficult. We shortened the time during the editing of the interview. It actually went over an hour, but with the edits, we had it down to 50 minutes, so I'm doing a little longer intro this time. But I think there's some interesting information that you just enjoy this for a second. We can share some information with you. There's a great book I have for free on my website under books called The Veil of Invisibility. On the transcript page, you can click it and download it for free. You'll see a picture of George Bush there. Yes, I got free stuff, folks. The Veil of Invisibility. Download it for free. It tells you about the Nazis, the secret space program, and it was evidenced and released by Hitler's personal bodyguard, Otto Skorzeny, on his deathbed. He has pictures and secret space programs, locations, and underground bases of the cabal. It's quite interesting, and you're going to see pictures of George Bush Sr. there, Barbara Walker Bush, when they were young, like 19 years old, standing with Joseph Mengele, the Doctor of Death, Reinhard Gehlen of the Gestapo, and Martin Bormann, General of the Luftwaffe. The picture in this book, you'll see, was taken in 1938, probably in the Wolf's Lair in Berchtesgaden, somewhere in those regions. There's evidence in that free book, and I hope you get that. The Cosmic Plan. I also have an article I want you to read. I'm not going to put it into this intro directly, but if you click this link, you're going to be able to go to an article called The Cosmic Plan. I can't say enough good things about the article. It is written by Giorgio Pienza, and it puts lots of things together. It's quite a long article, and I release it in parts with comments. I support a lot of this information, and is every single word gospel truth? Probably not. But I find it to be very, very intriguing as a general perspective and an overview of the multidimensional situation. Like a puzzle, we have to put things together. And this fleshes out the general plan and gives you a good idea of what things you're looking at. There are a lot of timelines that are missing, but he goes into the ancient history of the Earth and our relationship with various ET groups. Please check out the Cosmic Plan article by Giorgio Pienza and my comments. I'll be releasing more over the next month. The Omegans. I must apologize to Corey as I've misunderstood about the Inner Earth group that I thought was from the Inner Earth and uses the Omegan symbol. We talked about them in the interview, so I will redact any statement about that group and take Corey at his word. In the interview, Corey was sure the ones that I was talking about are not the ones he has met in the Anchar Alliance Inner Earth meeting he went to. I've made some assumptions that I must correct here. Corey has, in my post-interview conversation with him, told me they do not call themselves the Omegans. He states they are not from the Inner Earth. They come from Venus and live inside the planet. They are not natives to Venus like the Venusians Dr. Frank Strange's knows. They are material beings and live in the honeycomb of Venus, arriving there some 1,000 years ago, according to Corey. Apparently, the group Corey met and wrote about in his Inner Earth article do not call themselves Omegans, but use that symbol. He feels they are just trying to protect themselves. However, they are the ones that chose to leave the Anchar Alliance and do not want to openly contact humanity. They have refused to capitulate to the Blue Sphere Alliance agenda and to push for full disclosure. This is their choice, so we will await updates on who that group is and perhaps get more clarity on their historical interactions with us on the surface. Corey is respecting the request to remain anonymous as far as their name and location. the group that does call themselves the Omegans. I still feel this information is very important so you can read it. And there are more links here on my transcript page, as well as the Omegan situation to Gabriel Green letter from 1988, and also the link to the TerraCore files by Bob Renaud that I put in my previous Corey interviews is to the overview of the Omegan situation and the syndicate. See that link on my transcript page. According to Bob Renaud, who's been working with the Corendorians from the Alliance Group for over 55 years, there's definitely a group called the Omegans, and they're definitely what we would term evil and negative. The links to various articles makes it clear there is a very nasty group who call themselves the Omegans. Read the links, and you can learn about this group and their relationship to the syndicate and the tension that exists within their group's agreements with a group known as the Calrans. We should be aware of them, not be in fear of them, but be aware of them. Check that out. It's a very good article. And I encourage people more and more to check out that website. Also on that site, incredible information in a love written in the stars. That's a link also in my transcript. And to learn a lot about not well-known human ET civilization contact that's been ongoing for over 55 years. Meet the Corendorians. The information that's been given there has never really been released to the public except to people who stumble on that site. I talked with Bob on the phone some time ago, and he said he had never spoken in public at any event, but did release information through Gabriel Green for a period of over 20 years. I have a lot of respect for Bob Renaud, and I hope you guys will enjoy his articles as well. So I want to be clear, the article links above I have posted here on the Omegans are not the ones in the links from what Corey has stated. Thank you, Corey, for clearing it up. I want to announce that the summer conference going on is guaranteed in July 29th to the 31st with Louis Martins, a very wonderful, heartfelt brother who really has a lot of amazing PowerPoint demonstrations about his trip to Venus and the Temple of Purity of the Positive Agartha networks in South America. He's had physical contacts with the people from Alpha Centauri, the Pleiades, Venus, and the message is peace and love. They're sharing with him as well as others information that will be shared in Mount Shasta this summer. It's going to be a wonderful end of July conference. Louis is famous for program contact, and we are expecting something special for our group this summer. See you there. And if you don't know already, we have launched the Secret Space Program Mount Shasta Summer Conference Part 2, which is going to take place August 26th through 28th. The speakers include Corey Good, Michael Sala, Laura Eisenhower, and myself. See the link on my transcript page. We may have another special guest. We're still open to possibilities. We're working on something right now. The schedule is going to change as well, folks. We're going to be having a little more Friday activity, so to prepare yourself to arrive early. We're going to have a great jazz musician, world class, will be coming in, as well as fire circles. Lots of fun stuff up there at both of these conferences in the National Forest. This will be a really unique and fun time to be had by all. Folks, you'll notice a picture on my transcript page of the orphanage children in Tanzania. I talked about them some time ago. You folks stepped up and raised $3,000 in a couple days. It was really, really awesome. These kids got their schooling paid for. The government that was putting pressure on the 27-year-old father figure to these kids who had no father himself. He has 23 kids to feed every day. I can't imagine how he's doing it. He works really hard, and with your help, we were able to supply food for 2 months for the kids. It's only like $500 a month. It's really cheap, and it can fund about 23 kids for a month. So you helped in basic foodstuff supply. Thank you. I wanted to keep it going, so I asked someone to donate a website, and lo and behold, a man named Daniel and his friend Little Fox have stepped up. They're donating their time and supporting the esteemed efforts of the beautiful Bethany Cromer, who helped Chris to get the children funded and brought that to my attention, has done a lot of work from her Shamanic Designs website. Bethany has a lot of perks coming from God for her work with these children. Now we have a website where you can see the children and meet them. This is a real deal. It's not a scam. I don't touch the money. I've actually donated my time and some finances as well. I really believe this is a good thing that you can do to make a change in people's lives. So check out that website there by clicking the link on the transcript page. The children's website, it's still under construction but functioning. So please continue to help these beautiful children. Without further ado, I think I've gotten through everything here. I've talked about 2 conferences, the dates. I've thanked a lot of people and want you to keep your hearts open and enjoy the interview coming up here with Cobra and Corey. And thank you all so much. And so you know, we're going to have Lauren Eisenhower on my radio show next week and part 2 of this interview the following week. We're going to revisit this interview again at the end of June if all goes well. They've agreed to do another interview. I think it's going to be fun, folks. God bless you all. And thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we're going to get right to the interview now. This is a real important watershed moment for light workers. Some of the 2 largest, I guess we'd call them insiders, revealing what's going on behind the scenes in the world today, have agreed for the sake of unity of their followers and to provide clarity on various points that we're going to be talking about, are going to be answering the same questions and commenting on each other's questions here. We're going to go ahead now and begin this interview. I have some questions that have been prepared directly for these gentlemen, and we're going to start right now. Corey and Cobra, despite the fact that certain aspects of your information does not match up with each other, do you both generally agree on the bigger issues such as full disclosure, freedom for the people, release of hidden technology, and end to war and environmental destruction? Corey?
Yeah, I think that's something pretty much anyone can get behind. We've all seen the signs of all of these topics not being conspiracy. They're real. And we've seen the different political movements. Everyone is tired of the lies. They're ready.
Cobra.
Yes, of course, I agree with this. I have been fighting for this my whole life. And of course, I agree and I would support anybody who would be fighting along the same lines.
Is there any reason that both of your respective audiences should not cooperate with each other towards full disclosure and planetary liberation? Cobra.
I do not see any reason for that.
Corey.
Well, that's one of the main things that we're trying to do with the Full Disclosure Project is obtain unity in the community. There's so many different ideologies that we can argue about, but the one thing that we can all agree on is that we want full disclosure. We want to know the truth. So if we put blinders on to all the things we disagree about and focus on what we agree, we can get a lot accomplished.
Wonderful. That's what the world's been wanting to hear. Corey, do you know what the event is as Cobra has described it?
No.
Cobra, would you like to give him a brief synopsis?
Yes, of course. The event is the moment of the compression breakthrough. The compression breakthrough is when the light forces from above the surface of the planet and from below the surface of the planet meet in the middle, that is on the surface of the planet. I hope we all agree that there are certain factions that support the light, that support the liberation, that exist inside of the solar system, and there are some factions that support the light and the liberation of the planet that are existing below the surface, and they are progressing towards the surface of the planet because the surface of the planet is the main battleground, is the main focus of all this situation that is not just limited to the planet Earth. And when this breakthrough happens, this is what we term the event. The event is actually many things at the same moment. It is when the light forces take over the mass media and release intel about extraterrestrial involvement, about the crimes of the cabal, about new advanced technologies. So full disclosure, this is part of it. The other part of it is the mass arrest of the cabal. The other part of it is financial reset that the Eastern Alliance has been preparing for quite a long time. And of course, we are then gradually going towards the first contact, which is an actual official contact between the Earth civilization and other positive extraterrestrial races that exist throughout the galaxy. And the event is the trigger point which begins that process. That's a short overview of what the event is. And of course, we have the pulse from the galactic central sun. And the galactic central sun is a living entity, and it times the pulse of energy according to our global awareness and the level of that awareness and the level of the awakening. And when we have this compression breakthrough, the level of awakening is high enough for humanity to receive that pulse of increased energy from the galactic center.
Corey, do you have any intel that confirms Cobra's information on the event as he has stated specifically?
Much of what he said are part of the current negotiations between all of these different alliances, cabal groups, all of these are things that I've heard among the things listed that are being negotiated. Yes, that's very much a part of the reality of what is going on, what is being negotiated. And a lot of those things are in flux about, what percentage, certain groups want to put out and all that. But when all said and done, they're not really going to, they think they have more power about how stuff is going to come out and in what form than they really do.
That's really good news for everyone. Next question is for Cobra. Cobra, have you heard as yet any confirmation from your sources to confirm not just the Blue Avians, but the Blue Sphere Being Alliance or the meetings taking place as Corey has described them with the Superation 40, the Anchar Alliance, and the various groups as he describes them?
Okay, these are actually many questions in one. I can confirm that my sources have confirmed the existence of the so-called spheres. They don't term them in that way, but they say there are many gigantic objects in the outer region of the solar system especially, and also throughout the solar system, that are cloaked most of the time. Cloaked not only in the visible part of the spectrum, but cloaked in all ranges of electromagnetic radiation, so they're not detectable. They're also not detectable for remote viewers. And yes, this is what I can confirm. I cannot confirm all the details that Corey has released, and I cannot confirm his meetings with different alliances. But I can definitely confirm the existence of the spheres. Not in detail, but general information I can confirm.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have gentlemen who are both having genuine contacts, and it seems these groups are working within their own different parameters. Corey, can you give your opinion? I know there's lots of different people having different types of contacts. Is the reason that some of these genuine people with face-to-face contacts working for the same reason, from your understanding, might not be on the same thread? There's obviously lots of groups. What is your opinion on that one?
Yeah, there are many different groups working with slightly different ultimate agendas that have the same overall, agenda, that are working their own segmented little operations. And they're not always completely read into the operations of other groups. They may be working off a lot of the same intel, but they're not working off of the same mission statement, if that makes sense. So if you meet these different beings, you could meet 2 or 3 different beings that have different operational modes that they're in and have different reasons for delivering information to people, even though it's for the same overall operational goal.
Cobra, would you agree, or do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I would agree, and I would say that each group has its own cultural roots and its own strategy. It is not easy for any of the group to navigate the situation because there have been so much complexity in the situation, and each group has to find their own policy, and it's not always easy. And each group comes from their own perspective, and when those perspectives come together, there is always a period of getting to know each other, alignment of intel. It's a process that takes time, especially inside of the solar system when there has been so much division and so much suppression of intel. So this is a process I expect to take some time.
That's an important point that Cobra made. You have to develop a rapport with a being to understand, their culture or where they're coming from, the way they communicate, because all these different beings, they can communicate in a different manner, just like all the different people that you run across in your daily,
Yeah, it's okay. Like Italians speak in a certain way and communicate a little different. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but just different personality types and different points of view. People communicate differently, and in our daily lives, we may misconstrue a normal conversation. So until you get to know a person, then you're going to understand what they're trying to communicate to you. So, you got to develop a rapport with some of these beings before you can fully relate what they're communicating to you.
Okay, thank you. I usually choose questions that I get repeats on, and this is kind of an interesting one. And this has been reported. I have people have sent me leaks from news reporters around the world with this same phenomenon, kind of like those giant circular sinkholes that have been showing up, kind of kept silent. But around the world, lots of people have recorded on videos as well as on newscast reports. Certain cities are hearing some noises. And the question is, What are the mournful sounds of trumpets registered in countries around the world? Cobra, first, do you have any intel on what these sounds are? They definitely seem to be real.
Okay, according to my sources, what is happening is there is I would term it infrasound, which is just the threshold of human hearing, about 16 hertz. And that frequency is harmful for human consciousness, and the Kabbalah is using scalar devices that transmit infrasound. The infrasound travels not only through physical space, it travels through the etheric space, and it travels especially through plasma. And by infrasound scalar waves, they keep human consciousness locked into a certain vibrational state. And people who have good hearing can hear that sound, or some of people can actually feel that sound within their bodies as a certain vibration, certain suppressive vibration. So it is something that has been actually monitored, measured, and documented around the world.
To follow up here, some of the sounds are actually reaching to be heard in certain areas. It's been reported like for a week, I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's like somewhere in Utah, they're hearing these sounds, and it's on the news. So is the technology of the Cabal breaking down, and it's breaking into the audible spectrum now?
Actually, many people can hear that sound. It is not so difficult to hear if you know what to listen to. But people usually just disregard it because they have so many other things to focus on in their lives. But those, as I said again, those sounds have been documented, they have been measured. The frequency spectrum has been measured, and usually it is just below the threshold of human hearing, but some people can hear it.
Okay, well, it's being recorded, so it seems like a lot of people hear it. Corey, can you talk about it, Corey?
Yeah, this is something I've been asked about quite a bit, and it depends on the actual incident. This is a sound that's completely audible, that you can record. Then it is a mechanical sound. And this, if it's a regional, if it's just happening right around a little city, a lot of times this is them exchanging air with the surface with below ground bases. But when it's heard in wider regions around the planet, the huge trumpet sound and other low frequency sounds, it is from similar to skyquakes. It's from incoming, the rise in energetic waves that are coming into the solar system that are interacting with our upper atmosphere.
Interesting. Thank you very much. So we have two different possibilities on these, is a vibrational thing as well as a Cabal infrastructure. Both have agreed that there. Here's another interesting question I have for both of you. Do either of you have intel on the explosions off the coast of Japan? According to Benjamin Fulford, these were subterranean battles underneath a military base that Ben Fulford said was to prevent World War III. Corey, do you have any intel on that earthquake off of Japan? Was it a small-scale nuke, or do you have any information on that?
Quite a few of the earthquakes that we're having that are ranging between 5.8 and 6.8 are triggered from various different exotic weapons. Part of this intel update that we're releasing, it's either going to be this evening or tomorrow. David Wilcock's releasing it for me on his website, Divine Cosmos. It has to do with a lot of the pretty terrible battles that have been going on at underground bases and caverns, especially down in South America and under the ocean around Antarctica. There's been a lot of activity going on underground, and a lot of different exotic weapons, including 5th gen nukes being used, all these different exotic scalar weapons. And it's pretty hectic right now. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
With that said, could you give us a little more talk? Is this between different ET groups, or is this between certain aspects of positive military or negative military from your understanding, or all three?
All of the above. And one of the latest bits of intel from when I met with Gonzalez very recently, I've been getting for weeks mass reports of different types of orb kind of UFOs over Australia, but some would say they're metallic. Some reported that they had portholes going around them. Some reporting that they were of Russian origin. And then there were reports of these very large pumpkin seed-shaped cruisers, which are Draco, leaving Antarctica. And then some of them had actually left the Earth's atmosphere before all of these unknown dark chevron ships showed up and started attacking them. And as of the last meeting, it's, I guess, postulated that it's some Earth Alliance group that has obtained this technology, but they're not claiming responsibility for using it.
Okay, so you're saying that Dracos were trying to leave from Antarctica in pumpkin-shaped ships, and chevron ships, which are rumored to be Earth Alliance ships, are the ones that putting them back down, not major confederations. Is that correct?
Correct. And for months, we had been observing cabal Nazi groups headed down to Brazil and Argentina, and they'd been heading into their underground bunkers like ants into the ground. And they had been shuffling a lot of their assets and people down to Antarctica. So these people, we believe, were also on these cruisers trying to get off of the planet before something happens. Things seem to be reaching a crescendo of sorts, especially in the Earth Alliance with the negotiations and what they're doing in the background.
Thank you, Cobra. That we kind of went into other information, but can you confirm the Japan information that Corey says is correct, and these other things, or part of this intel? Can you comment on that, please?
Okay, what I have received from my sources is, yes, there are battles in, I would say, shallow underground bases in Japan, and mostly conventional weapons were used that triggered some of the earthquakes. But not all earthquakes were triggered by that. There is also an increased activity of the tectonic plates, which react on increased activity from the galactic central sun. The other thing that I can confirm is that there is a lot of movement of the cabal groups. They want to escape through two routes towards Antarctica. One route goes from Texas through Mexico, then to South America, mostly Brazil and Argentina, towards Antarctica. And the other one goes through New Zealand and Tasmania towards Antarctica. They want to escape because they think they will not be found there. And actually, some of them tried and attempted to escape from the planet. And according to one source, the group that Corey terms the Dark Fleet, the Nazi breakaway faction from a long time ago, attempted to contact the Nazi faction in Antarctica and create a bridge to transport some of the personnel from Antarctica to the outer edge of the solar system towards the Kuiper belt. And that intel is not confirmed, so I cannot 100% guarantee for that, but this is what I heard from one of the sources.
Okay, thank you. Have either of you heard there was an ancient Pleiadian civilization in South America that was in a rainforest situation that, due to Earth shifts, no longer exists, but a long time ago, there was a very deep underground, and still exists to this day, a technology that is stabilizing the planet. Have either of you heard of that deep underground Antarctica technology base from the Pleiadians?
Not the Pleiadians being mentioned, but yeah, I've spoken in detail about a lot of this ancient technology that's been put in various parts of the Earth underground, including Antarctica. And some of it had been removed, and it caused problems with our tectonic plate and weather and other things. And they had traded and given away that technology, and it caused imbalance.
I'd like a clarity, Corey, do you know who put the technology there originally?
It's unknown. It's extremely ancient. If I looked at the footnotes of the report, there were about 3 different postulations or theories about who put it there.
Thank you. Cobra, do you have any information?
Actually, we need to go a little bit back in the history of Atlantis. Atlantis on planet Earth was pretty much a global civilization which was seeded or encouraged by different waves of different cosmic races. There was a Pleiadian wave which has brought Atlantis to its heights about 200,000 years ago, and there was colonization from the Sirius star system which created another peak of Atlantean civilization about 75,000 years ago. And each of those races have brought a lot of technology and a lot of spiritual understanding to Atlantis. And each of those races that I have mentioned have created their own network of surface cities, of subsurface cities, of tunnel networks, of underground pyramids, of crystals, of stabilization technology for the tectonic plates. But unfortunately, there was another faction which came from Orion, which infiltrated those networks on Atlantis and misused the technology. And misuse of that technology actually was responsible for the deluge of Atlantis, for the last sinking of Atlantis, which happened around 11,500 years ago. A lot of that old technology is still spread. Some of it is submerged on the bottom of the ocean. Some of it is a little bit underground. Some of it has been purposely destroyed or suppressed. But a lot of those machines and technology and crystals is still remaining. And many underground factions have discovered those old remnants. And a lot of this will be coming to the mainstream media at the time of the event.
Yeah, and that's much newer technology. That's not the most ancient of technology that's found subterranean.
So there's some much more ancient technology. I've heard that as well. Would you like to elaborate?
Many hundreds of millions of years old.
Thank you for that. Let's see. This is kind of another question that's come up. Simon Parks has indicated that he has heard that this was a battle. This is a little closer to home, and we don't know for sure because the people that filmed it, there were several groups. It was Area 51, had a large amount of smoke, and it didn't look like a brush fire because it kind of came from one source. But do either of you have intel on the giant smoke cloud that was reported at Area 51? Was this underground base engaged in one of these battles, or was this a brush fire? Do either of you have intel?
They have a large problem of getting rid of nuclear materials from all their testing, and they've been openly burning nuclear materials, and it's gotten away from them several times out there. This is something that's happened before.
Okay, according to my sources, this was just brush fire.
Yeah, it's been they're burning and releasing things, and it gets out of control, and the whole area catches on. It's happened several times. They end up shutting off radiation detectors in areas where the wind carries it. Yeah, this is something that's gone on several times.
Interesting. Both can be correct here. Cobra says it's a brush fire. Corey says it's a brush.
It was a brush fire. It was a brush fire. It turned into a major brush fire.
Caused from burning. I don't. That's just madness. These guys are really crazy there. Thank you for that. So we have here a question for both of you, and I guess Corey, since you're kind of new to the event information, the general theme of what you've heard from your various sources for the intent for liberation. But the question is, as the global situation is improving on the planet, even if it seems to be slow, do we really need an event or a watershed moment in order to continue to improve the situation like it's already happening in the last years? Could it just be a slow momentum, or do you both believe, like I believe, that it's going to require an aha moment, an epiphany, a revelation through mainstream media with a great focus of the world to create the event?
Yeah, it's going to absolutely require a catalyzing event for everyone to be jerked awake. I mean, if we're gonna slowly expect everyone to trickle into this new reality of understanding about all these suppressed technologies, let alone all of this other stuff that Cobra and I talk about, we're gonna be waiting millennia. So, there are going to be outside forces that are doing all they can, but we have a part to play in this scenario. Every single one of us, not one person is too small to take part and to make a difference. And they're waiting for us to, stand up and take our part in this. None of us can say that we don't have any skin in the game. So as each of us contributes and puts our differences aside and starts to work for full disclosure, gets the information out there to the general public, then, the 100 monkey effect's going to occur. And as more and more of them learn this information, it's going to become more acceptable, and people are going to start asking the questions we want them to ask. And when that catalyzing event occurs, they're not going to be as much in shock as they would prior.
Very good. Cobra, we know you obviously feel that there is a watershed moment. We call it the event. Would you like to comment, please?
Yes, of course. I would just give an explanation. It's a process which is called phase transition. Phase transition is a process in physics which actually happens also in societies. So when you put a certain amount of energy into a society, it begins to behave like water that is boiling. So what we're experiencing now is this boiling water. It is all this dissent in human society, all this questioning, seeking, all this restlessness in human society is a reflection of this cosmic change. And when a certain amount of energy is brought into that system, the water begins to boil. It begins to change into vapor. And this is what is happening with human society. It's going through a phase transition. And the moment of the phase transition is the event. It is a sudden change which can be felt beforehand a little bit. It can be expected, but when it really happens, it's a sudden transition. It's a quantum leap. And this is the way transitions happen in nature. They don't happen gradually. Phase transitions happen suddenly, and this is what is going to occur. Because we simply do not have time. We do not have millennia to wait. We are actually responding to cosmic forces that are triggering this transition. They are guiding us through this transition so it can happen as fast as possible, as harmoniously as possible. Human race alone is taking one part in this transition, but it's a global cosmic event. And each of us, of course, plays a role in this event.
Thank you. I would add that for those of you who are familiar with, if you want to look at cymatic shift, you can see a plate of metal that is vibrated with sound, and you'll see that the sand is in a chaos mode, and then it moves. And when a specific frequency is established, the sand moves into a specific pattern. And we're going through this chaos position very shortly to reestablish a new pattern. Corey, are there specific plans that you know of for the Sphere Being Alliance specifically to become allies openly with the Earth's surface population at some future date?
No, not that I know of. From what has been communicated to me is that they will remain in the background, and as the outer barrier and these different spheres slowly are faded out or transitioned out as this cosmic energy comes in, then they will no longer be needed here, and we will no longer, we won't need them. We'll be in a different state ourselves.
So it seems as though some of them we will never meet. Cobra, you speak of the resistance movement, and we know that they are definitely involved on the surface of the planet. I personally feel there's many other beings that are here on the planet that have been here for a long time. Some come and go, and some are lifetime Earth members now. Can you talk about the plans for you've mentioned this before, so from your group, they do have plans to communicate with the surface population. Can you share with our listeners what those plans are? Many want to sign up. That's not really that way, is it? Can you talk about that contact that will take place in the future, Cobra?
Yes, it is not safe now for that contact to happen, but after the event, the contact will happen. The resistance movement will make physical contact with people who are, I would say, the most awake and aware individuals. This will be the first interaction that will happen, and based upon how this goes, they will gradually begin to reveal themselves to the surface population. They are not the main group to interact with surface population. The main group will be the Pleiadians, later the Sirians, and then the Arcturians, and the other, I would say, positive galactic races from our galactic neighborhood. The resistance movement's role is to tactically support the event, to make sure that the infrastructure is running, that we have electricity, internet, food distribution chain. They will support the positive military in their operations. They will support the media releases intel. there will be not so much face-to-face interaction with the surface population, at least not in the initial stage. At a certain point after the event, they will have guided tours for certain surface people, guided tour of their underground dwellings. They will show one part of this to the surface population. And those who would like to join and be integrated, it will be possible if certain conditions are met.
Corey, do you have any comments on Cobra's questions?
Answers, I mean. It's going
to
be part of this update that we're releasing. Kari from the Anshar had requested after she had the meeting out at the Kayaker Belt base, she had requested a meeting with the Super Federation. And the purpose of this meeting was all of the groups that are here, just not long after the time of Muhammad, had signed this accord or agreement about open contact or appearing openly to humanity. It was to allow us to develop on our own, and they only agreed to, do things from the background, and contact people kind of secretly. I don't know all the details of this accord, but it's pretty binding, and it came after some pretty major skirmishes they had. And this is something that they want to revisit and make some amendments to, because some of these inner Earth groups want to start making more appearances on the surface. And this is a meeting that has been granted and is going to be coming up very soon.
Cobra, do you have any comments on Corey's intel there?
Yes, there has been agreements made, but the purpose of those agreements was the real reason why surface population was not contacted it is because the Dark Ones have controlled and isolated the surface population. There are many positive groups that wanted and would like to contact the surface population, but they couldn't because it was simply too dangerous, because the Cabal would retaliate. There were some instances when the surface population was contacted and there were consequences.
Yeah, I mean, the Draco and all these different groups, negative groups, have signed this accord as well. That's what is going to be one of the trickiest parts. This next meeting is not only going to be representatives from the Super Federation, but it's going to have representatives from some of the negative groups there as well, which is going to be a type of a meeting that has not happened since the accords were set up and signed.
Yes, but the Dracos never negotiate. They just want to have their own ways.
Yeah, I've seen them negotiate quite a bit, but they negotiate out of the side of their mouth.
So this is a question for Corey, and this has been something that I've had questions about. You mentioned the Anchar Alliance as if they are the only Agartha network, and they seem to have been negative. And you have indicated in one of your later, not the last, but one of your later posts, that they were taken to the Kuiper Belt and scolded by the Triangle Head, and you have stated that 4 of them have agreed that that their chiding was deserved, and they have agreed to go into a more positive relationship with humanity, and that 3 of them reversed. You have told me that the Omegans were one of them. Are these the only?
Well, we need to get this straight, though. You keep putting the negative stamp where it doesn't belong, and it's a point of view thing. These groups aren't negative. They're in a hostile land trying to survive. But at the same time, they're delivering positive information to people, albeit in a deceptive way. From their point of view, you got to understand they are trying to protect themselves from people from the surface that have the ability to attack them and kill them. So they're living in things are not as cut and dry as a lot of people would like to say it is in the ufology community. It's a very wild paradigm that they're living in, that all these groups are living in. And they have a very strange political environment that they have to try to survive in as well, especially the ones that have their embassies here or spend all of their time in the solar system, because as Cobra said, this solar system is a very dangerous place.
Right.
And not only are these dark entities very dangerous, but us as a people are, in the state we're in, we're very dangerous as well.
I understand that. We do have a bellicose and a violent nature. I'm speaking especially with the Omegans. The chemtrail planes actually have the Omegan symbol on them, so I consider them hostile. You may consider
that
them...
may not be related to them directly. And, just because, there was groups down there that had a swastika, but they're not directly related to the Nazis or the Nazi ideology. So symbols can be taken and repurposed. You can't just see a symbol and immediately jump to conclusions without intelligence to back it up.
I would agree. Cobra, let's have you weigh in on the situation. Can you describe the underground landscape? Do you know anything? Would you consider the Anshar Alliance that used to be hostile, or can you delineate the different underground Agartha network groups for us from your position?
The situation underground is very dynamic and it's changing all the time. But what I would say, I am in contact with certain of the factions, not with all of the factions, and apparently there are more different factions down that we all know. The resistance movement, for example, has never claimed that they are Pleiadians or representing themselves to any part of the surface population claiming they are gods to be worshipped. Neither any other factions that I know of that form the global Agartha network or the Eastern Agarthan factions. Currently, there is a process of unification taking place. There is a lot of contact, a lot of negotiation between various factions, and a lot of mistrust. Part of this mistrust comes from manipulation of the Chimera group, one of the factions against the others, and cooperation between the Chimera group and the various subterranean Draco factions coming from 1930s and 1940s, and the Nazi groups on the surface. So there was a lot of mistrust created at that time, and a lot of healing still needs to happen. Also, I would say mostly the Eastern Agarthan factions have a similar perspective that the surface population, Eastern philosophies, Buddhists have on life. And this is quite much different from what the Western people have, Western outlook of life. So what is happening on the surface is actually a reflection of what is happening below ground. But there has been communication established between those various groups, and healing is taking place. But again, this takes time. This is slow because there have been millennia upon millennia of history that needs to be solved, resolved, and healed. So, but I can say from my perspective, I've never heard of a group that belongs to a subsurface faction that claims to be either Pleiadian or savior gods of anything of that nature.
Okay, guys, so I have a question because I live in Mount Shasta. It's near and dear to my heart. It's always been considered a bastion of the light forces from Lemuria. First, I guess let's have Corey respond. This group is not part of the Anshar Alliance, is it? Do you have any intelligence on the inner Earth Agarthan civilization of underneath Mount Shasta?
I have received some information about the groups that not only are under Mount Shasta, but line the region, going for quite a ways up into Oregon and Washington. And they are definitely a very positive group, and they are a part of a network as well. But I am not in contact with them.
Thank you, Cobra. Could you comment on the Mount Shasta group? My South American contactees, Louis and several others, have indicated that there is a strong network that goes from Mount Shasta all the way down to Central and South America, of a very positive nature. Can you comment on your knowledge of this group, Cobra?
The group below Mount Shasta or inside Mount Shasta is part of the, I would say, the global Agartha network, which originates from time of Atlantis, when part of the light forces had to go underground because of the Archon invasion 25,000 years ago. And 25,000 years ago, they have created a network of underground cities, and underground tunnels. And one main tunnel goes from Alaska through Washington State, through Northern California with Mount Shasta, through Southern California, through Mexico, Central America, down into the South America. And there is another main tunnel which goes from Peru underground through Caribbean, through Atlantic, through Morocco, through Egypt, and then onwards towards Tibet. This is all part of the same network, and there was a very, and still is a very positive civilization of flight, which I would call the Global Agartha Network, existing, and Mount Shasta City is part of this civilization. The surface population has received intel about this group through certain channels, and certain people that lived in Mount Shasta and have had encounters. I would say about 80% of that intel is correct. I would not say they are ancient Lemurians. I would say they are remnants of the old positive Atlantis.
Atlantis did have a science station here on Maui. Where they're from, the point is that they're being positive. Cobra, have you heard anything about the Anchar Alliance group underground, specifically the ones that Corey has talked about? He has mentioned, I don't know if you saw his report. One is with this woman named Karine, the Omegans, and some others. Have you heard about this, the Anchar Alliance specifically? Are you familiar with this group of 7?
The Anchar Alliance is only 3.
Oh, 3. Oh,
yeah, the ones that wear the Saturn symbol.
Oh, the Saturn symbol. Have you heard about this group, Cobra?
Okay, I have read Corey's report. I have not heard about this group from any of my sources, but I know that Sheldon Neidl has mentioned Truth of Anchara back in 1995.
Okay, thank you. Cobra, can you speak about your knowledge of the halls of Amenti and the Akashic records, as Corey has described them as kind of like an Earth-based library on the outer, and then I guess the main records, Corey, you can correct me on this, was behind was a crystal that they were trying to grow. Is that correct, Corey?
Yeah, and that's a living technology that has a lot of records in it, and that technology may tap into the Akashic records. I don't know exactly what you're referring to in that. I've heard that referred to in a couple different ways. But it's definitely a major historical database that is very important to them.
Okay, just for your clarification, Corey, Akashic Records is the mineral kingdom, which stores all information that's ever taken place on a planet as kind of like a living memory that can
I've heard it also used that has all of the everything that's ever happened in the cosmos.
Cobra, could you talk about the Akashic Records and the halls of Amenti and kind of play it off of what Corey talked about with his group?
Okay, the Akashic Records are a natural imprint of any event in the etheric matrix, in the etheric substructure of matter itself. And with proper technology, you can always read what is stored there, that informational imprint. So light forces and most of the advanced races in the universe have technology to read that record directly from the etheric substance. Crystals, physical crystals, can store that information quite effectively. I would say physical crystals are more advanced versions of our current hard disks for computers. They can store more information, more dimensionally, and more effectively. But basically, Akashic records can be accessed directly from the etheric plane with certain technology, and for more evolved beings, they can access the Akashic records directly with their consciousness.
Thank you. Can you speak about the halls of Amenti? These were spoken of in the Emerald Tablets found in the Temple of the Moon in Central America, and they're recording a person from Egypt named Thoth, and the halls of Amenti were kind of indicated as being below Egypt. Cobra, can you speak about the halls of Amenti, and are there multiple ones that possibly that Corey was speaking about?
Okay, each city of light had their own records, and particularly for the Giza Plateau, there were crystal records of the past beneath the Sphinx, and the resistance movement have accessed those crystals back in 1999 before the Cabal could get them.
I heard they were removed.
Cobra and Corey, you both have mentioned that we have a tremendous power of manifestation that the Cabal doesn't want us to learn about. And they even use techniques like programming, scalar plasma waves, mind control, imaging, that have us working against ourselves. If our group focus and the collective consciousness is the most influential factor to speed up liberation, shouldn't we as a group try to encourage the entire light worker community to come together and to meditate and pray for a common goal? Would you both agree?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that has been talked about in our Full Disclosure Project group, that July 8th is Disclosure Day, and we've been planning to launch an ad campaign and all kinds of other stuff, to promote disclosure. And that's a perfect time to do other things.
Cobra, would you agree?
Yes, of course. I would agree that mass meditation is one single most influential factor that the surface population can contribute towards the breakthrough. July 8th, the Disclosure Day, is one opportunity to unite diverse groups to a common goal and focus our attention to that particular point in space and time to get closer to the breakthrough.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you have been asking for this type of unity. Cobra already has a weekly meditation. I actually spoke to these gentlemen before, and the suggestion I had was let's make this a unified, worldwide meditation as a common goal for full disclosure and planetary peace. So you've heard it right here. Both of these gentlemen are not going to be the only ones, but they are lending their support to coincide with Corey's Full Disclosure Project, which is the same as Cobra's. It's not a name thing. It's about planetary liberation. So those of you light workers who are out there creating banners and information and video and media, we would like you to July 8th, Full Disclosure Day, planetary world peace. This is the emphasis, and to bring people to the awareness in any way you can through videos to help to support this so that the world and at least the social media groups that are following us can grow to create awareness of what full disclosure is into the mainstream media, to insert ourselves into the conversation and get people's awareness of what's going on. So that's a done deal. Now, folks, so it's up to you. You can focus to Prepare for Change is going to pick this up, and I'm sure Corey's Full Disclosure Project is already working on this day, but we're adding World Meditation and Peace Day. That's a done deal.
I would suggest that other groups that are following or attempting to assist in the liberation process also support this. David Wilcock could support this. Other people could support this. I'm just stating this openly to see and manifest more of this support. It doesn't matter if it's my meditation or somebody else's meditation. What matters is that it's a focus and common goal at a certain moment in space and time. This is what brings results.
Thank you. That's exactly what
Go ahead.
And
that's the whole point of the unity. And if all of us can work together like this and cross-promote each other's programs like this and partake in them together, then we're going to make a difference immediately.
Very good. Both of you, Cobra on Prepare for Change, Antoine started this this kind of network group that supports. Maybe you can combine with Full Disclosure groups. Those two can get together on their own. I would like you now. We're coming towards the end of this first hour, folks. We're going to have part 2 here coming out. But Cobra, I'd like you to share your website, your blog, where you're appearing, and to let Corey's people know about your information and to check you out. Some people will be listening to you for the first time. The same goes for you people who've been listening to Cobra. This is a chance for you to connect with Corey, and we're going to get all of their websites coming up. Cobra, share everything you think is important for people to know to follow you and to keep in touch.
So if they go to Google, they can just Google Cobra Portal 2012 and they will find my blog, and there is a vast treasury of information there.
Okay, you do have some, I guess you're calling them Ascension conferences coming up. Are you ready to release any more future dates for people here that they can look forward to meeting you and hearing about this?
Yes, we will have an Ascension conference in the beginning of June in Greece, and of course everybody is welcome to participate.
Okay, and there may be more released later. Corey, could you please share your websites, your disclosure projects, Gaia TV, and folks, you can support both of these gentlemen through their websites. Corey?
Yes, my main website is fearbeingalliance.com. That's where you can find most of my articles. And then the newest site is fulldisclosureproject.org. And that's the new site where we're going to do a lot of the unity in the community kind of events, and also working together with other groups. We're already starting to work with Dr. Steve Greer's group to help promote his movie Unacknowledged, and start working together with a lot of different groups. If you like watching the show David Wilcock and I do together, Cosmic Disclosure, you can watch some free episodes and sign up at blueavians.com.
Well, that's wonderful. Gentlemen, it's been really wonderful having you both on here for this first show. I hope people will...
Don't we have a conference coming up?
Oh, thanks for reminding me, Corey. Yeah, my site, thepromiserevealed.com. I have announced we are having a summer conference coming up with Corey Good is going to be presenting for 2 days. Michael Saul is going to be there, Laura Eisenhower, myself. And we're announcing, I'm making time in the middle of the day, a little longer than my normal conferences, folks, for those of you who've been there. For those of you involved who have been signed up, and Corey's team, Corey and Laura will be joining Michael and myself. There will be some discussions on the full disclosure to get those people who are working on the projects already to coordinate and meet. So there'll be those of you in the full disclosure teams would like you to come and to meet. Corey may be making some suggestions on how we're going to work together. It's going to be a great time. That's all on my website, folks. On Corey's website soon. We've given them marketing materials. Tickets are actually selling quite well. So that's the summer conference in Mount Shasta, August 26th, 27th, and 28th. Check that out. And thank you both very much. Victory to the light. And we'll be back with part 2 very soon, folks.
For additional information, please visit our website, theeventiscomingsoon.com, and our Facebook page at facebook.com/theeventiscomingsoon, your alternative news source for disclosure and the event. Make sure you search our library of videos. You may have missed some very important information and intel. Remember to subscribe to receive updates on our new videos.
Be sure to visit our sister channel, The Event is Coming Soon, for additional intel and information.
Stay tuned.
We leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth and rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Victory of the light.
Event is coming soon. YouTube channel.